Hello everybody, Anthony is here. So in this video I'll talk about how I made this 3D sketch for a bigger project that I have in mind. And if I turn off the character, you can see the seats. It does look a little bit of like a dig, so well, it will be a talk about making flying digs. So here I already posed the character and I'm creating just a circle with a blob tool to add the first blade, the first turbine, and I'm using the sphere tool to quickly draw a shape of the seat, a shape of the frame from the side view. And I'm using I'm using on plane on and off all the time. So on plane actually right now is on a hotkey. So every time I want to draw in a certain plane, I switch to hotkey and then start to draw. So I'm using curve tool here, but it's more by accident. Usually it's a blob. So I'm just using blob again. So duplicated that circle, and I put it aside. So now it's a turbine that I want to reuse later on because I want to rotate them. And obviously if you rotate them, it's going to be really hard to add any details. So I want to do a sculpt on the side and then instance it to the main body, like I'm doing right now. Right, using the blob tool again on plane. So on plane is you right click somewhere on the mesh and you define your plane, and then I start to draw real quickly on that plane. The only problem is that on plane tool is that by accident you can forget that you have it on and start to draw on plane from a different camera angle, and it will create a 10 million triangle mesh, and it will freeze your computer for like a minute. So it happened with this particular project like maybe 5-6 times. Really annoying feature. Hopefully maybe in the future they will make some kind of warning that if you click somewhere you'll create a mesh which is going to be really slow, really big. Here I'm duplicating part of the seat to make a battery. So essentially there's a battery powered vehicle, so just made it a big box and attached it to the back. And I'm reusing the seat again to make like a display. And this is all made for project, kind of like a slums project, and so this is all will have been built in a garage, right? So it's all kind of makeshift, welded together, cheap materials. So here the functionality comes first and design comes kind of second. That's my main thinking. Trying to do the joystick. Okay, here kind of done. You can constantly use an on plane, like clicking in some part of the mesh to define the plane, then checking where it goes. Sometimes I click and miss, so it's pretty common. This frame that on turbine, so that later just got rid of it. Wasn't looking that great. So I wanted to make some landing gear, like sledge essentially, like really basic. And definitely really feels like just painting. This blob and sphere tool. I used sphere tool when I wanted to use to make an angled stroke from one part of the mesh to another. When I couldn't use an on-plane because like on-plane is good for these 90-degree angles, left, front, top. But sphere is great just if you want to make a frame and connect corners of the frame and make a diagonal connection. But spheres, they need some, like sphere tool needs something to anchor itself, so we have to build some dots with the plane tool. Now I wanted to add some kind of backpack, so I would imagine this maybe could be a private, like drone, private vehicle, or some kind of delivery, like postal delivery service. There's a capacity to attach more load, like at the bottom, or with the main capacity in the back. So here I wanted to quickly add deformation using the stencil tool and extrude. Using move just to fold the stuff and then deformation. And then using this like mesh stencil and extrude to add the wiring on top, so it looks like it's holding the top cover to the bottom. So I used this blob tool to add the middle part of the turbine, essentially the electric motor. Well, the electric motor cover. Since I have it all instanced, I can manipulate the size of these turbines, so I thought they were a bit too big, so I made them slightly smaller. And this time lapse I cut certain parts just to make it quicker. So original length was about 40 minutes and cut it down to 25 minutes of like at 4x speed. That's 4 times faster. You can see I did like this kind of meshing or like little ropes at the bottom of the sledge, in the middle part of the sledge. And I did like some computer components to the monitor. And then I wanted to add some kind of extra control, so I have a joystick on the right side and then some kind of keyboard on the left side. And generally when I'm thinking about the whole structure, I'm thinking first to build the frame, then I start to think about what can I add. Okay, like what does it carry and how does it carry? Then I think about the all engines, then about little accessories like this, and then more about electronics. So these accessories will be kind of the electronics. And then you'll think about the wiring, then you'll think about the sensors. So even this one will have some antennas or something. Usually yards are good ones to steal some reference for like communications. So yachts, the boats, they have their like all those setups to communicate over distance. And here I didn't really use it that much. Then I do have the lights, so those things like little candles on the big circles, they also perform, well, I was thinking that they could perform as handles just to place this and move this around, but also as there will be like headlights or like back lights on those little guys, so you'd want to have some kind of lights at night. I didn't put like, could have, you can put a lot, especially since it's like a vehicle, it's, you know, like makeshift, custom made. You could put bottle holder, bottles, coffee cups, some even like toys or some kind of talisman hanging around. So could be a little piece of paper or a rug. So you can even make your whole list and checklist adding stuff. So here I'm doing the pedals. So say he's controlling the force of the speed of the turbines with the pedals. And now we also obviously have cables. So just using the sphere tool to draw the cables, and they attach themselves automatically. So make like small cables, bigger cables, small cables just for the lights, and bigger cables for the turbine. Cables of the monitor. Just use the move tool to, some of them didn't snap well, so I have to use the move tool. Move tool does change the object so it starts to get thinner. Kind of had a feeling it wasn't strong enough of a connection in front, so I added an extra frame in the front. So and in the back I've just added this again, another backlight, I would imagine. So I wanted to add a bit more detail to this part that was holding the monitor arm. Using carve and on plane. the shape of these guys look a bit weird, so I tried to make them a little bit more like pipes and more rounder. Then I decided to make a connector in between. So it makes a bit more sense. Doing the blades took a bit of time to do. I've cut out a few attempts by generally using the four-sided symmetry, then removing two parts opposite to each other diagonally, and then using some transform pose tool to rotate them. This was kind of too much, and obviously they're way too thick. Also, there's a balancing out because I want to spend as little time as possible, but then sometimes when it doesn't look right, you start to add more and more time to make it right. Overall, this whole vehicle took me about 3 hours to finish, which is, I didn't really have any expectations of how long it would have taken me, so it was like, okay. And definitely, I would say even halfway it was, I had the idea halfway already. I just got caught up in some details here and there and trying to test out some ideas. So now I'm doing the instances of the blades, combine 3 together and then just clone it 3 times. An extra support for, there is no support for the motor, so now I'm making it. And you can see the frame around the motors has changed a little bit. And now I'm doing the instance flip from the left to right for the big turbines. Also, I had an idea about making the motors to be rotating up and down, but then you have to introduce the rotating mechanism. The rotating mechanism would need, extra frame, extra power. So I decided to abolish that idea. Since most of the real world drones, they have pretty much fixed turbines, they don't rotate up and down. The seal looks pretty rich, like you can rotate around and you can see a lot of little details. And again, this is where 3D Code shines in making these parts really quick. Sometimes I have to force myself not to redo certain things, like if it's looking alright, then just leave it. like this front turbine, the rim looks pretty bent, and I was like, should I redo it or not? And then I was like, yeah, whatever. Just have to let it go a little bit. Especially the idea is not going to get into a close-up. In my project, gonna be pretty far away. Just extra support for the frame. Looked a bit too thin. So I'm trying to connect the monitor because right now it's kind of hanging in the air. I would imagine he'll... Actually, another thing I didn't do, I didn't add like a phone holder. Well, I would imagine he'll have like some smart glasses anyway to navigate through the space, through the city. Then I wanted to add kind of a little bit of a symmetry and for extra antenna. So then I thought about maybe I should do a big antenna like this. But really, it's kind of overkill. I found it looked, in my opinion, looked a bit funny. And I eventually just removed it and left a little piece. So like this. So adding some kind of radio transmitter. Just the lobe tool and the circle. And there we go, a little antenna. So I didn't add all the cables where they would naturally go, but I was just, I've done enough. So I'm thinking to add a bit more of these little ropes around, but they look a little bit weird, and since I'm using just one material for the whole thing, they start to look like they're part of the frame. Right, so just paint it in the rope, cable. Now doing the character, so kind of felt like I really wanted to do something. So we just combined everything at pretty low resolution, then started to fill it up. So I made the helmet. Started to use the cow brush to add the clothing on top. It was cow brush and pinch. And you can see here, I just jump forward because there's nothing spectacular about this clothing. It's really basic and quite poor. trying to draw the helmet on top. Added the seatbelts. And that was really about it. I've added a few tweaks outside this footage later on, maybe spend an extra 5 minutes on it. But yeah, that was pretty much the whole process for the guy. Maybe you'll find it useful. And again, now I'm a bit evolving my methodology. I use more tools. Before I was like a worksite guy, now I try to use a bit more. And well, thank you for watching, and let's see you in the next video.